Okay. You on. Yes, yes. We are on with another talented, very special individual doing amazing things, man. And this woman, she's a woman of many titles, y'all. I mean, she was a director, development for Slits. Is how you say it? Slits?
Schlitz Audubon Nature Center.
Audubon Nature, yeah. She also worked with the Youth Leadership Council and Volunteer of the Year for the Boys and Girls Club, right? The Girl Scouts, excuse me, Girl Scouts of Wisconsin. Man, she worked with the Boys and Girls Club as well. Man, she's been all over the board. She's been doing a lot of amazing things here in Milwaukee. Everybody make some noise for Katie Sparks, man. Katie Sparks.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. So my background is I have about 15 years in nonprofit fundraising. And so I've been at healthcare institutions, I've been at education institutions, I've been at small nonprofits. So I've kind of done everything related to fundraising and revenue. And we all know every idea costs money. So that's where I...
All right. I had to slide up to the side real quick. But man, Katie, yes. So Godfrey did put us on notice about you a little bit as well. And you know, you work with a lot of different non-for-profits and organizations, like you said. What made you get into this field, and how are you able to work on so many things at once?
Well, going back a few years, I fell into this. So I was working in the corporate world for about 3 years, and I worked at Target Corporation, and I worked at a smaller paper store called Broadway Paper in the 3rd Ward. And I realized getting people the right price, something was not my life passion. So I actually went back to UWM, go Panthers, and I went to the Career Development Center, and normally they just meet with students, but they were willing to meet with me as an alumni. And I said, I don't know where to start. I don't know what I want to do. You know, counsel me as a career counselor. And so we did some tests and some assessments and found that I wanted to be in nonprofits. And so they said, so I just did informational interviews with me. I sat down with people. I networked my, tail off, and I tried to figure out what was nonprofits all about. So I automatically had a network when I came in because I did so many networking meetings. But I found that if you know how to run a program, whether it's a youth program, older adult program, any kind of program, or you're a fundraiser, you're going to get a job anywhere in nonprofits. So as I networked, I found my way to the Medical College of Wisconsin, and that was my first job in fundraising. So I did direct mail. I worked on, fundraising campaigns. I did alumni reunions, raising money there. So and then I've just done a little bit of everything in fundraising. So meeting one-on-one with donors, phone-a-thons. I've done planned giving. So you're setting a gift up in your will, corporate giving, grants, individual giving, event giving. So anything with revenue.
Yeah.
She got her hands on it.
So about 2 years ago, I started my own consulting business, and I just do that part-time. And then I'm also part-time at an organization called Kathy's House. And so I'm working for small nonprofits and really trying to just whatever you need to get you to the next level for fundraising.
Right. So let's talk about Sparks collaborative results.
It's a mouthful.
What you say?
It's a mouthful.
Hey, it works. It works. And you're making a spark. Spark is sparking right now. The spark is sparking. But you say you work with quite a few individuals. What would you say has been, what would you say has been the funnest so far? Because you work with so many different individuals. You have that change of pace every day. What would you say has been more like a little bit more fun, I guess, doing?
Well, if you talk to me for very long, you realize I have a passion for this. I think it's really fun to ask people for money. Not everybody would say that. Not everybody would say that, but you really get to know people, and you really get to know what they're passionate about. How did they get their money? Some people fell into it. Some people really worked hard. Some people, they were born with it. But what's your story? Okay, let me connect you with some nonprofits that are doing really good work, and I get to be the bridge, I get to be the connector and really connect up people. But in my consulting business, what I really work with people on is how do you take the audience you already have and get them to be donors? So there is already a major investor in your database right now. And what are you doing to work with that audience? So don't look at where is everybody trying to apply for money in the city, because those people have relationships probably with that corporation that's giving a ton of money away, or that philanthropist is giving a ton of money away. But you already have people who know your story. You don't have to tell it to them again. They've already been following you. What can you do to move your messaging into, here's how you make a gift, here's what we need. So you look at the who in your database and you look at the what, and what do we need? What do we need to tell them? What's the messaging? And who do we need to tell that to? And so I really try to work with them on, here's the top people you want to work with, because you can't spend time on everybody. And so we work on trying to figure out your audience and who you need to spend the most time with and who needs to be on the team working with me, because I'm not the one making the solicitation necessarily in my consulting business. I'm training them, I'm enabling them, I'm giving the tools, I'm asking hard questions, you know, that kind of thing. So.
Okay, so when you do those one-on-one conversations, is there a criteria you go by to match them up with different nonprofits?
So usually, really the best fundraiser that's out there is someone who's just really curious and is asking a ton of open-ended questions about their lives and their passion and what they're interested in. And you're at the point now where your kids are okay and you've lived a really good life and now you're ready to help the community. And what do you want to do? Do you care about kids? Do you care about older adults? Do you care about disabilities? Do you care about, okay, well, let me hook you up with people or nonprofits that are working in all of those spaces. And so I just try to know the landscape of my city and know who's doing really good work in terms of nonprofits, because I feel like people come to me all the time and ask those kind of questions.
Katie, can I ask you to, I know this might be, there's no bad question, but can you define philanthropist? Can you?
Some nonprofits would define that as $1,000 and you're giving $1,000 donation. Larger nonprofits might go for a $10,000 gift or a $25,000 gift, all the way up to multi-million dollars. So as you read headlines of people really giving big money, but I try to work with people who are giving at least a 4-figure investment at the minimum.
Okay.
4-figure. Whew.
Right.
We get to connect them to all the great nonprofits out there.
My question for you, Ms. Sparks, is you know, after working with so many different nonprofits, how would you say that transition from starting your own business to working with somebody to starting your own business? Like, how is that transition?
So again, as I was leaving where I was at the time, I took those skills of when I left corporate world to when I was leaving nonprofits, because I almost actually got out of fundraising, if you can believe it. I was like, maybe this isn't my calling anymore. Maybe I'm done with this. And as I met with people and was starting to give people advice on how to do revenue and how to raise more money, people said to me, I would pay you for this work, Katie. I would really pay you. And so I had no plans to start my own business. I had no plans to start and go down that road. And people said to me, I would hire you if you had your own
connection.
And yeah. So for me, because I have training as a fundraiser, I don't really have a lot of expenses. It took me, I think, 9 months before I even built a website. Like, I had no expenses. All of my stuff was just to pay my bills. And I looked at what was the highest income I had ever made, what was my hourly rate if I were to calculate my salary. And as long as I was making that or more, then I was okay. I wasn't in this to make, be rich. I wasn't in this to like just go all out. And I know that everything costs money. And so, the tax bill I have to pay at the end of the year because I don't pay taxes every month, that kind of thing. Like, you got to put that away. If you're going to save for retirement, it's all on you. And so I wasn't trying to apply for a business loan. I wasn't trying to figure out what expenses can I incur. I was like, how do I make money, right? And so I was looking at my network, who needs me, who else can I talk to? All these nonprofits I've known over time, I knew might need my skill set. And so people kind of came forward and, you know, I haven't even enabled like my SEO, my search engine stuff on my website. So it's harder to find me because I have enough business right now.
Right.
So it's all about the money, and then I get to give it away if I make extra. So
That's a good problem to have.
Right. I was just about to say that.
So,
So-
when
Go ahead, Godfrey.
yeah, my question was once you get funds for like these nonprofits, like when do you know that your job is done?
So I don't think your job in fundraising is ever done, because you're going to want to grow that nonprofit or add something else, or all these visionary things you keep planning about. They're all going to need money. But typically when somebody hires me specifically, it's because they're in a really tough spot, right? They lost 3 big funders that used to give every single year, and now they're not getting that grant money anymore. And so they're scrambling to figure out, well, what do we do? You know, how do we fill that? And so we look at a lot of different strategies on how to do that. And then the other way that people have hired me is we're trying to grow. We've figured out a model. People in the community want us. We're doing really good, and we need to figure out, how do we get paid better for this work? How do we grow? Do we add staff? Like, help us figure out our budget for this so we can, you know, grow in revenue and also get our program to where it needs to be. So, yeah, so those are the 2 things that people hire me for. And then like once I fill the gap of that loss, or once I fill the gap of that growth, usually they wrap that up, or they might hire me for something additional. And then, you know, I know that project is done, but nonprofits always need money. So
I want to make this clear. You don't just work with people who are established, right? Or like non-for-profits or organizations that are established, correct?
I would say where I provide the most value is nonprofits that are already established. I've had a few that are startups. And my sweet spot is to really help you enhance the audience you've already built, and how do you get them to be donors. So it doesn't mean I can't work with startups. It doesn't mean, you know, it's just more dependent on my time and my availability. But usually with startups, you're doing a lot more grant writing because they don't have an audience. They don't have people that already are willing to, you know, give. The other one, I'm just helping them kind of pivot their audience into different messages and to make investments and establish what our need is and communicate that out. So that's my better spot, but yeah.
Okay. Fellas, y'all got some more questions for her? Because, hey, I could get into my personal stuff, but we can go ahead and
No, we're not going to. Ms. Sparks, so when it comes to, you know, getting these dollars for nonprofits, what would you say is like an important factor? Because a lot of people say networking, you know, going to events and stuff like that. Then we have people that say like it's the grant writing, the way the proposal is written and all that. So what would you say would be some of the important things on successfully, you know, getting that money in?
So if you look at the national statistics that are out there, about 95% of where all philanthropy is given across the US is from people. So 75% of it basically is from individuals, and that could be churches, that could be educational institutions, that could be, you know, healthcare institutions, any kind of institutions. Then about 20% of that comes from what are called bequests. So someone doesn't have any kids that they can give their money to, so they're giving it all to charity. So about 20% comes from there. So if you figure, 10% comes from there. The other 10% comes from foundations, and a lot of that money is from family foundations. So people who have set up revenue, you know, over the generations, and they have money to give. So that's where the 95% comes in. Only 5% of all philanthropy across the US comes from corporations. So when you're talking about grant writing, you're either talking about a foundation or a corporation that you're writing for. The better way to do it, and the scarier way to do it, and the people hesitate, is you have to sit in front of somebody, look them in the eye, and ask them for an investment. 4-figure, 5, 6-figure, multi-million dollars. And so how do you do that, and how do you build that comfort level? You don't do it at the first visit. Never. You build a relationship with somebody, and I have a genuineness to really learn about people. Like, I'm a lifelong learner, and my school right now is people. and I get to learn your life. I get to learn your background. I get to hear about your kids and your parents and what, how you lived your life. And so I just have a genuine curiosity, and people give to people. Like, they give to the organization, but they give to the people that they built relationships with. So you'll see people when they leave an institution and they're fundraisers, fundraising goes down because they built all of these relationships with these amazing, donors. And so I really have a joy in sitting with people. And so the better way to do it is to meet one-on-one with people, or small groups, not these big events, although that provides a lot of revenue, not grants, although that provides revenue too. It's to really get to know your people and get them to know you, and tell them your pitfalls, and tell them your mistakes, and tell them your growth, and tell them your vision, and tell, the whole thing. They want to know it all because they want to invest in you.
What would one need to have prepared when approaching you for a grant? What will I need to bring with me, or what information do I need to make sure I have before I even think about that?
So the best thing, I'll ask you a lot of questions. I don't know how much you need to bring to the meeting, but I'll
That's
do
that motivational interviewing skills.
Right.
But I think, again, it's about who and it's about what. And so if you know your who, if you know which audiences you want to reach are in your database, like let's say you do hold events, and all you do is you meet with those people once a year because they come to your annual event. Well, maybe you want to work with those event donors more throughout the year. You want to hear their story. You want to bring them in for tours. A lot of this, we're in COVID-19 environment, so it's not quite the same. You're doing calls and stuff like that. But you look at that list maybe and you go, we want to build more of a relationship with these people. Or we have gone gangbusters on our social media and we need to know who these people are. And we want to, look at our followers, our social media, or we've been tracking ages on people. And so we want to only talk to the people who are age 50 and older. So if you know your who, I can help you figure out, okay, what's the approach? And then your what is, well, what do you need money for? What is your vision? And if it shouldn't always be something tangible. Sometimes it's like, we just want to be here for the kids in the community and we don't want to go away, right? That's not like buy a playground. That's not like, buy something tangible. That's like, we just want to exist. And so we need you as an investor to make sure we don't, get rid of our nonprofit and that's
right.
the families we serve or whatever. So, and so I always sit with people and try to pull that out. What is your what that you're selling? What is your who that you're meeting with or want to meet with?
Gotcha.
Fellas, I got another question. I keep asking.
Go ahead, bro.
All right, so no, with times, being a little testy at the moment with the diversity, racism, and all of the things that's going on. Would you say, do grants not get passed due to certain barriers? I don't want to ask that. Like, is race a factor sometimes during grants or passing of money?
Like in a positive way, I've seen racial be a positive thing.
Okay.
So some grants want to know that you serve 90%, African American. Like if you're only serving 15% African American, we don't want to work with you because there's tons of nonprofits that are really serving diverse communities. And so we only want to fund ones that have this diversity. The other that I've seen is there's an organization called Greater Milwaukee Foundation, and they require anyone who applies for a grant from that foundation, you have to have 10% diversity in your board. And they're talking about race when they talk about diversity. So there are some nonprofits, like before this even, George Floyd and, who are doing racial equity right now, and they're trying to keep that going. Now, I don't know that many nonprofits that need a lot of money that are helping just white communities, but
right.
Most of the nonprofits that I work with or support are really truly serving like inner city in the community and, their needs.
you know, from experience of being African American, trying to take out grants and things of that nature, you know, I have ran into different barriers, or, you know, you do hear stories of people running into different barriers. And so I was just kind of curious, is that any barrier blocks that you have seen or witnessed? But I got you.
So one of the employers I worked for, one of my coworkers called me Katie the Persistent. And so I am very oriented. So if you were getting a lot of no's, and you have to be okay getting no's in nonprofits. So some people would tell you, I can't afford to give that right now or whatever. And you have to go, okay, well, we'll try again. So I would be interested to, you know what the rejections were that you were getting and really dive deep into that. And maybe it wasn't, maybe it felt like it was race, and maybe it was. I mean, I'm saying that's
right.
You know, but maybe there was something else that we can help enhance that application. So.
Okay. Man, Katie, you're a great individual. You're doing amazing things in Milwaukee. I look forward to speaking with you individually as well.
All right.
But we got to have you drop your social media handle so people actually, before you do that, I did wanted to know, could you let us know organization that you're working with that you think need a spotlight put on them, where we could reach out to them as well and, you know, give them some recognition for all the things that they're doing?
That is such a tough question for me because there's so many.
Yeah. I'm about to say you can't be biased. You can't be biased.
Don't make me pick one.
All right, I tried, y'all.
Give us three. We'll take three. First three off there.
Well, right now I'm really trying to help out Metcalf Park Community Bridges. And We Got This is a big one that I love. And Teens Grow Greens. So I'll just give you those three.
All right. We gonna be on the lookout for Teens Go Greens. And what was the first one?
Metcalf Park Community Bridges.
All right, Katie. If you could drop your social media information so people can follow you and support everything that you're doing.
You want me to just say it right here? So find me on LinkedIn at Katie Sparks MKE. And if you're looking for me on Facebook, I'm Katie Bell Sparks. Bell is my maiden name. So Katie Bell Sparks or Katie Sparks MKE on LinkedIn.
All right.
My website is SparksCR, because it's the collaborative results, sparkscr.com.
All right, y'all. Make sure y'all check out Miss Sparks and continue to support and follow everything that she's doing. I appreciate you once again, and we look forward to continue to work with you, Miss Katie.
All right, thank you.
All right.